Welcome to another The One Ring RPG video. Today I'm going to take another look at the Moria supplement. It's a setting book. I've previously did a brief look at the book, but I've since gone through the whole book. I've actually, I go through the books using a PDF reader, so it reads out loud the PDF to me, and I find that works great because I work in the art side as part of a digital game company, and while I'm doing art, the sort of linguistic side of my brain is still available, and I can listen to these books. So I've managed to make my way through Moria, through the Door of Durin, and I've made a few notes of sort of noteworthy things inside this setting book, and I'll sort of briefly run through those now. So something I appreciate is them adding new playable dwarves. So these are the dwarves of Nogrod and Balagos. So now you can play a different type of dwarf, which seems quite fitting for Moria. Okay, so I will just say spoiler alert. So if you do plan on being a player, just decide if you want to listen to this. There's no major story narrative spoils, just things you can probably expect. So it's really not that serious, but I'm just trying to be sort of polite and letting you know. So basically the next thing is you can encounter the Balrog in Moria, and it's, from my interpretation, it felt a bit like a push your luck mechanic where there's sort of a dice roll, and I can't remember exactly how it works, but from what I can recall is there's sort of like a push your luck mechanic where there's a dice roll and you are there's a chance that he can appear, and my impression of it is almost like it felt like he was hunting you, which is kind of cool. I don't recall anything like that in the One Ring before, so it's a super cool mechanic. I'll just share another piece of art here of the Balrog. All right. There are also patrons that they add in the setting book. I really like that. Patrons really feel iconic, and I appreciate when they do that. So there's a few new patrons in this. They've also included a few new adversaries, and for myself, I like the adversaries because I've made myself that adversary deck, and it's fun to add new cards to that when I find the time, which I actually haven't found yet. But essentially, yeah, any new adversaries is always a great win for the game. It definitely makes the setting feel unique and different, having different enemies to fight. And there's also tables. There's quite a few different tables in the book, but here's, for example, one of random chamber generator. That's incredible for a dungeon. A chamber generator is amazing. Like, I'm super pleased that they added that in. Sort of a procedural dungeon is sort of ideal for a dungeon crawl, which I can't actually see Moria being anything else than a dungeon crawl. But I'm sure if you're being creative, you can find other ways of running a campaign. But it's so ideal for that. So naturally, part of a setting book is context. So they give you a lot of context regarding the setting. There's a tale of heroes. They just kind of give you the context of where you are in the timeline, some background about the different races, like what's happening in Moria, what's happening in the wilder world. I really appreciate that you know what's happening with the elves, what's happening with the dwarves. Let's have a look here. Just make our way to the elves quickly. I do believe they're in here. Okay. Either way, yeah, the elves are here somewhere. They're just hiding. Something else that stood out to me as well is the somewhat horror setting of Moria. So you can you can definitely lean that way. I've heard other people speak about the One Ring first edition like that, where it's sort of perfect for a horror themed campaign. But Moria leans itself to that as well. So you can definitely, if you choose to, take a darker turn with the campaign and just make it feel a little bit more gritty and darker. So they've got special rules for journeying within Moria, and I really appreciate that. It makes Moria feel different, and they've accommodated for that very thing, that those questions that are going to pop up. They've made specific journey rules for what it's like to traverse within Moria. They've gone so far as well, sort of basically when you have a bout of madness, they've given you a special table for that. I really appreciate all the work they've done on that, especially for bouts of madness, giving you unique ideas on what that would look like when it plays out. All right, so Orcs. I believe this is probably the most attention the game has given to Orcs and factions and clans and chieftains. It makes me think of Shadows of War and Shadow of Mordor, where there are leaders and they're vying for control. I really appreciate that. Moria, through the Doors of Durin, has added so many, like from the chamber generator to the fact that there's this Balrog, to the clans and the chieftains. It really feels like a different game once you go into Moria. So something once, while listening, or I want to say listening to, but I'll just, or rather say reading through the Moria sitting book, a campaign I would like to play is making it through the labyrinth of Moria to get to this vault, the treasure vault of Moria. It's just such a great campaign hook. It leads right into that dungeon crawl. I just listening to the setting book and all the content in here, it just gets you fired up. You're ready to go. And a lot of the content here does feel just ready to go, ready to play. There's a character in the setting book called Emry, the traitor. The writing on this character was rather phenomenal. How he's justifying being a traitor to himself. It's done really well. It's believable, and just compliments to the writers on this setting book. Phenomenal job on Emry the traitor. Now here's something exciting: is the Lesser Rings. They touch on the Lesser Rings, or the Lesser Ring. So there's Har's Ring, and what an exciting thing is to go and track down the Lesser Ring of Har. So basically, the Dwarven Rings is, if I understand correctly, weren't they lost? And through this you can go and find them. So correct me if I'm wrong if the Dwarven Rings aren't lost, but I believe they are. So what a great hook for a campaign. And how can we talk about Moria without talking about Mithril? So there is the mining of Mithril, and I think I encountered ways you can access Mithril on page 137, 166, and 172, which is Balrog's throne. They cover Navi, so the Rings of Navi, and they cover Navi's workbench, and they go into the Forge of Navi, which is great. It's great just to get that sort of context. And once again, I'm not I absolutely love Tolkien's work, but because there's so much content, I tend to get sort of lost sometimes. And then it's great where you can just sort of come to a setting book like this, and they can just sort of give you that context. So when you run the campaign, you can have that confidence and feel grounded, sort of back into the setting without having to make up too much. And it's great when a campaign is linked into such deep lore. And here they cover some more lost rings of the smiths. Old lore and explaining how the smiths made the rings. So there's a great campaign right there regarding the rings and trying to track them down. And they cover rules on what would happen if you do find one of these rings, these lesser rings. They cover even how to craft and make your own ring, which is pretty sick. There's mentions of eagles. I'll let you guys read into that, but yeah, there's where there's a mean, there's a way. You can access eagles in desperate times. I'll let you guys discover that. It's page 160. Another great campaign to run is the Den of Forgotten Stars. Basically an escape campaign where you are, if I can recall, you're a prisoner. Either you are, it's not a preset campaign, but they give you the contents and the context of the sort of the mines and the prisons in the dungeons in Moria, and either you want to try free the slaves or you are a slave and you're trying to escape. Pretty great stuff. You can even try and seal away the Balrog again. Good luck with that, but if you are so inclined, brave enough, you can try to seal away the Balrog once more. Otherwise, if you are crazy-minded, you can try to defeat the Balrog. So they've definitely given players a lot of room to play with. They do kind of give you a reality check on how feasible these things are, but if your party wants to, they explain the slim chance of doing that. They cover things like where the dwarves woke Durin's Bane. You can actually go to that specific location, and that's sort of part of trying to imprison the Balrog once more. It's kind of linked to that. And they cover things like Durin's Throne, which is just iconic lore that will be really fun to encounter during your dungeon crawl. Now, something that they do cover in the book is lots of locations, like an incredible amount of locations. I don't know if I've seen more in a book. This one might have the most. Might be wrong, but it's truly remarkable. I'll just go to the front of the book quickly and just show you the index. So here we start seeing, just location, 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 location. These are all just locations. It's an incredible amount. Astronomical. Truly amazing. All the way. So basically running from there all the way across here to there. And how could they have Moria without allowing you the opportunity to encounter the Watcher of the Water, I think it's called. Yeah, Watcher in the Water or Watcher of the Water. I think it's Watcher in the Water. You get to take a closer look at Balans Expedition. I'll sort of give you sort of the context of that. Sort of once again, like a tale of heroes is given here, and then a full breakdown of Balans Expedition. They do touch on Aragon and how he can play into this Moria campaign. So it's Aragons Quest on page 182. And then we got a magical treasure index for Moria. So this is probably the biggest find I didn't anticipate. is the solo play in Moria. Like I mentioned earlier, that the game feels different once you enter Moria. It becomes somewhat of a different game, not completely, but it feels different. The solo rules are unique. You don't need the Strata rules. They've come up with completely unique rules for playing solo in Moria. So one of the things that's unique about this is that you have a band, and how they operate. They've kind of created condensed rules for combat and journeying that allows you to, as a solo adventurer, operate as a band, and I love it. It's really smart and clever how they did that. There is special sort of, they give clear, what would say, win conditions, what you're trying to achieve. So they give very, very clear win conditions and a clear lose condition. So if one individual character can win if they obtain a certain amount of treasure or retire after reaching a certain level or after completing a certain amount of quests, a clear lose condition is needed. So the campaign failure is, this is can't remember if this is something that I wrote down, but I think this is in there. No, can't remember. Entire party wins. Now this is, I think, my own my own notes for playing solo. I can't remember if they gave clear win conditions or lose conditions, or if I put that in there. You will have to help me out with that one. I can't remember. But basically, something that works really well with this is clear win and lose conditions. So I can't remember what the lose condition I had in here was a time limit. So if you don't get the treasure within a certain time limit, or if your character dies. Yeah, if I'm reading this now, I can see this is my own notes, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I always like clear conditions, win or lose conditions. It's vital for me in a campaign to feel that sort of consequences and to be striving towards a clear goal. Something they did do is battle clashes are sped up in solo play, so you can actually have large scale battles or smaller scale battles, and their rules are something that you can even I've considered applying in just the regular game. I just really like how they've streamlined it. So if you just want to have a clear battle, but can in many ways just be resolved in a single roll, have a look at Moria supplement, because they've got condensed rules for traveling and for battles. That is something we should consider if it's your playstyle to use in the regular game. Okay, so I wasn't completely off my rocker, but I was reading off my own win-loss conditions earlier. But basically there is a win-loss condition in the book. If I can understand, well, I just made a note here. You can mark the end of your campaign once you successfully fully build a band of 12 hardened allies and undertake a final great mission into the depths of Moria. There is time within the scope of Balans Expedition to become a hero, or to fall to shadow or death. So they've given you a clear win condition of building a band of 12. Did I read that correctly? Yeah, 12 hardened allies. So I believe there's different rankings they can get, and once you get them all 12 up to hardened and you complete a mission with them all, you've completed the Moria solo campaign. Anyway, that's a wrap. And excuse how sort of there's probably a lot of funny rhythm in this video because I've been pausing and then unpausing, but hopefully it's watchable and that you've learned something about Moria Through the Doors of Durin, setting books, and yeah, join me again for the next supplement. See you again. Bye.